Hello, everyone. I am Natasha, your host for today. If you are new here, I would like to tell you that we upload a new English learning video every single day to help you improve your English faster and more effectively. In today's episode, you will not only improve your English listening skills, but also your speaking confidence. We're diving into a powerful lesson that will take your fluency to the next level. 100 real-life English conversations that will help you speak naturally and confidently in everyday situations. These conversations are based on real, daily interactions, so you can catch natural English. Understand how sentences flow and learn phrases you can start using immediately to sound fluent and confident when you speak. Whether you are talking to friends, ordering at a restaurant, asking for directions, speaking at work, or making small talk with strangers, these conversations will give you the right words and expressions to use. By the end of this video, you'll feel more prepared to handle real-life situations in English without hesitation. I'll also share helpful tips and practice exercises along the way, so you can train your brain to respond quickly and naturally in English. Before we start, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss a new English learning episode like this. So, grab a pen and paper. Let's get started. Let's start with some simple, yet very useful, conversations you might have in daily life. Imagine you are meeting a friend in the morning. You could start with a friendly eye greeting. For example, "Hi, Sarah, how are you today?" And she might reply, "I'm good, thanks for asking. How about you?" You can respond with, "I'm doing great, did you sleep well?" And she could say, "Yes, I did. I went to bed early last night, so I feel fresh." These short exchanges may seem simple, but they are exactly how real conversations begin in everyday life. They make the other person feel comfortable and give you a chance to practice natural intonation and tone. When you practice this, make sure to focus on your voice rhythm. Say the words smoothly, not too fast, and try to match the friendly, casual feeling that native speakers use. Repeat it a few times until it feels natural. Now, let's extend this conversation to something you would often talk about in the morning, your plans for the day. For example, your friend might ask, "What are your plans for today?" You could reply, "I have a meeting at work in the morning, and then I'm going to meet a client for lunch." Or, if you are not working that day, you could say, "I'm just going to relax, maybe read a book, and later I'll watch a movie." These simple details make your conversation sound alive. Practice saying them as if you are really talking to a friend. Imagine the person standing in front of you and answer naturally, without stopping to think too much. Here's a short exercise. Pretend you meet someone at a coffee shop. Start the conversation with a greeting, ask them how they are, and tell them your plan for the day. You could say, "Good morning, Alex. How's it going?" And then when Alex replies, continue with, "I'm planning to finish some work this afternoon, but first, I'm enjoying this coffee." Keep it short and real. Try saying it 5 times out loud, each time with a little more confidence. This will help your brain get used to forming sentences quickly, without translating from yours. Or first language, another common real-life situation, is ordering something at a cafe. Let's say you walk into a coffee shop, and the cashier greets you by saying, "Good morning, what can I get for you today?" You could reply, "Hi, can I have a medium latte, please?" If you want something extra, you can say, "Can I also get a blueberry muffin?" The cashier might respond, "Of course, anything else?" And you could say, "No, that's all, thank you." They will probably ask, "For here or to go?" And you can answer, "To go, please." This kind of exchange is short, but very common, so it's important to practice it until it feels completely automatic. Let's practice that together. Imagine you are the customer, and I'm the cashier. I say, "Good morning, what can I get for you today?" Now, you reply with your order in one smooth sentence. Try not to pause too much in the middle. After that, I say, "Anything else?" And you can add something small or simply say, "No, that's all." Do this 3 or 4 times with different orders. For example, you can order tea instead of coffee or ask for a sandwich instead of a muffin. The more you vary your answers, the more flexible your speaking will become. Next, let's look at small talk while waiting for your order. You might start with something simple like, "It's a nice day today, isn't it?" Or, "It looks like it might rain later." The other person might respond, "Yes, it's beautiful this morning." Or, "Yes, I heard it's going to rain in the afternoon." These short weather comments are very common in English because they are safe topics to start a conversation with strangers. They help you break the silence and make your conversation feel friendly. Practice saying a weather comment naturally and with a relaxed tone. Don't rush it. For example, say, "It's such a sunny day," slowly, with a smile in your voice. Another very common daily life conversation is asking for directions. Imagine you are visiting a new city and you need to find the train station. You might approach someone and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the train station?" The person might reply, "Sure, go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left, and you'll see it on your right." You can respond with, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." These polite phrases make you sound respectful and fluent. Practice asking for directions using different places. For example, replace train station with supermarket, library, or museum. Try to keep your tone polite and warm. For practice, I'll give you a small role play. Imagine you're in a city you've never been to before. I'm a local person, and you want to find the nearest bus stop. Start by saying, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the bus stop is?" I will answer, "Yes, just walk down this street, and it's next to the post office." You respond with, "Thank you very much." Repeat this 3 times, each time changing the place you're looking for. You might ask about a pharmacy, a park, or a shopping mall. This will help you become comfortable with one of the most useful conversation patterns in English. Now, let's move into another important area of real-life conversations, introducing yourself. This could happen anywhere, at work, at a social event, or even at a bus stop. If you meet someone new, you might start by saying, "Hi, my name is Alex, nice to meet you." The other person will probably reply, "Nice to meet you too, I'm Maria." After that, you can add something like, "Where are you from?" Or, what do you do? These questions are very common when meeting someone for the first time. Practice introducing yourself by saying your name, asking one or two simple questions, and responding naturally when the other person answers. Here's your speaking exercise for introductions. Say out loud, "Hi, my name is Alex. Nice to meet you." Then add, "Where are you from?" After you imagine their answer, respond with something like, "Oh, that's interesting," or "I've always wanted to visit there." Practice this 4 or 5 times until you feel comfortable with the rhythm. The goal is to make your sentences flow naturally, without sounding robotic. Let's continue with another very common real-life situation. Shopping for clothes. Imagine you walk into a clothing store, and a shop assistant approaches you with a friendly smile. They might say, "Hello, can I help you find something today?" You could reply, "Yes, I'm looking for a black jacket." The assistant might ask, "What size do you wear?" And you can answer, "Medium, please." They may respond, "Let me check for you." And after a moment, they might return saying, "Here's a medium black jacket. Would you like to try it on?" You could say, "Yes, please. Where is the fitting room?" These little exchanges are exactly what you'll experience in a real store. Practice saying them aloud, imagining you're speaking to an actual shop assistant. For practice, let's role-play this scenario together. I'll be the shop assistant. I say, "Hello, can I help you find something today?" Now, you reply with your request. After I say, "What size do you wear?" You answer with your size. Then I say, "Would you like to try it on?" And you respond politely. Repeat this conversation at least 3 times, each time changing the item you're looking for. Maybe jeans, a sweater, or a pair of shoes. This will help you feel ready for shopping conversations anywhere in the world. Now let's move on to conversations at a restaurant. You walk in and the waiter says, "Good evening. How many people?" You reply, "2, please." They might say, "Follow me," and take you to a table. Once you're seated, they ask, "Can I get you something to drink?" You could answer, "Yes, I'll have a glass of water, please." Or, "I'd like an iced tea." After you look at the menu, the waiter asks, "Are you ready to order?" You reply, "Yes, I'll have the grilled chicken with vegetables." If you need more time, you can say, "Could we have a few more minutes, please?" This is very polite and often used in restaurants. Practice both versions, ordering right away and asking for more time. Here's a quick practice drill for restaurant English. Imagine I'm the waiter, and I say, "Are you ready to order?" You give your answer confidently. If you're ordering, make sure to use the phrase, "I'll have," because it's very common in English when choosing from a menu. Try ordering different dishes, pasta, pizza, salad, and different drinks, coffee, lemonade, or orange juice. This variety will train you to speak without hesitation. Another situation you will often find yourself in is making an appointment. This could be with a doctor, a hair salon, or any service provider. For example, you call and say, "Hello, I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Smith." The receptionist might ask, "Sure, what day and time would you like?" You could say, "Tuesday morning, if possible." If they reply, We only have 11 a.m. available. You can answer, that works for me. Thank you. Remember, in real life, the other person might suggest a time different from the one you requested, so it's good to practice responding politely to changes. Let's try a role play for making an appointment. I'll be the receptionist. I say, "Good morning. How can I help you?" You reply, "I'd like to make an appointment for a haircut." I ask, "When would you like to come in?" You give me a day and time. I might say, "We only have 4 p.m. available on that day." You answer with, "That's fine, thank you." Practice this several times with different types of appointments: dentist, car repair, or a massage. This will prepare you for a variety of real-life calls. Now, let's practice small talk at work. In many English-speaking countries, people often talk about GT topics with colleagues before starting their work. You might say, "Good morning, how was your weekend?" And your colleague could reply, "It was great. I went hiking. How about you?" You can answer, "I stayed home and watched a few movies." These exchanges are important because they build friendly relationships and make you sound approachable. Practice saying them with a friendly tone, as if you are speaking to someone you see every day. Here's your small talk practice exercise. Pretend you're walking into your office or classroom. Greet someone, ask about their weekend, and share a short answer about yours. Keep your sentences short and natural, not too formal. Try doing this with at least 3 different answers, so you're not saying the same thing every time. Another type of real-life conversation is when you need help at a store or public place. For example, you might say, "Excuse me, could you help me find the rice section?" In a supermarket, the staff might reply, "Sure, it's in aisle 5. You can answer, "Thank you very much." This short pattern, asking for help, receiving directions, and showing gratitude, is one of the most practical conversation skills you can have. Practice replacing rice section with stationery section, frozen foods, or bakery to prepare for different shopping needs. Let's practice that together. I'll be the store staff. I say, "Can I help you?" You answer with a request. For example, "Yes, I'm looking for the cleaning supplies." I respond, "They're in aisle 3. You reply, "Thank you so much." Repeat this with different items you might need. Doing this over and over will make the words feel automatic when you really need them. Finally, for this section, let's practice polite refusals in everyday life. Sometimes, someone might offer you something you don't want, and you need to say no politely. For example, if someone says, "Would you like some cake?" you can reply, "No, thank you. I'm full." Or, if they offer you help when you don't need it, you can say, "I appreciate it." Let's also cover casual conversations when meeting someone in a public place, like at the park or while waiting for a bus. You might notice someone reading a book and say, "That looks like an interesting book. What's it about?" They might respond, "It's a mystery novel. I love reading them." You can then add, "I enjoy mystery stories too. Do you have a favorite author?" This kind of small talk often leads to longer conversations. Practice asking about something you notice: their book, their dog, or even the weather, and then adding a follow-up question. Here's your practice exercise. Pick any object you can see around you right now. Pretend someone is using it, and ask them a question about it. For example, if you see a phone, you could say, "That's a nice phone. Is it new?" Then imagine their answer and respond naturally. Try this with 5 different objects to get used to starting conversations from observations. Now, let's practice conversations you might have when traveling. At the airport check-in counter, the staff might say, "Good morning. May I see your passport, please?" You reply, "Of course. Here you go." They might ask, "Do you have any bags to check in?" You could say, "Yes, just this one." Or, if you don't have any, say, "No, I only have a carry-on." Practicing these exchanges before traveling will make you feel more confident in real situations. Here's a travel role play for you. Imagine I'm the airport staff. I say, "May I see your passport, please?" You hand it over and reply politely. Then I ask, "Do you have any bags to check in?" You answer with either yes or no, and add the details. Repeat this 3 times, changing your answers, so you're ready for different travel situations. Another important real-life conversation is checking in at a hotel. You arrive, and the receptionist says, "Good afternoon. Do you have a reservation?" You reply, "Yes, under the name Johnson." They might ask, "May I see your ID and a credit card for incidentals?" You say, "Sure, here they are." They will then give you your room key and say, "Your room is on the 3rd floor. The elevator is to your right." You reply, "Thank you very much." This short conversation covers all the main points you need at a hotel. Practice the hotel check-in scenario now. I'll be the receptionist. I say, "Good afternoon. Do you have a reservation?" You answer with your name. I ask for your ID and credit card, and you provide them politely. Then I tell you your room details, and you thank me. Repeat this 3 or 4 times to get comfortable with the flow. Now, let's look at situations when you need to make a polite complaint. For example, at a restaurant, you might say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry, but my soup is cold. Could you please heat it up?" The waiter might respond, "I'm so sorry about that. I'll take it back to the kitchen right away." You reply, "Thank you, I appreciate it." Complaints in English are often made politely, starting with "excuse me" and using soft words like "I'm sorry, but" to keep the tone respectful. For your practice, think of 3 situations where you might need to complain politely, maybe about a noisy hotel room, a wrong food order, or a late delivery. Create 1 short sentence for each, starting with "excuse me" and keeping your tone friendly. Repeat each sentence until you can say it smoothly. Finally, for this section, let's practice conversations when meeting a group of people for the first time. You might say, "Hi everyone, I'm Natasha. I'm new here." Someone might reply, "Welcome. Where are you from?" You could answer, "I'm from Chicago, and I'm excited to meet everyone." Being friendly and open helps people feel comfortable around you. Practice introducing yourself to a group by saying your name, where you're from, and adding 1 positive comment like, "I'm looking forward to working with you all," or I've heard great things about this group. When you are learning English, it is important to imagine yourself in different real-life situations so that the phrases and sentences you learn become natural to you. For example, think about walking into a small cafe on a Saturday morning. You can greet the barista with a warm smile and say something like, "Good morning. I'd like a cappuccino and a blueberry muffin, please." After receiving your order, you could add, "Thank you so much. Have a great day." These simple but polite exchanges happen every day, and practicing them in your mind or out loud can make you sound more confident and natural. The key is to use the right tone and make your words flow without overthinking grammar rules in that moment. Another common scenario is meeting a colleague at the office and starting a casual conversation before beginning work. You could start by saying, "Hey, how was your weekend?" and then respond with something like, "That sounds great. I actually spent mine relaxing at home." These little interactions may seem unimportant, but they are the heart of fluent conversation because they train you to react quickly and naturally. You should also notice how you can extend the conversation by asking, "Do you have any plans for this week?" This shows interest in the other person and gives you more opportunities to practice listening and speaking. Imagine you are in a clothing store and need help finding the right size. You can approach a staff member and say, "Excuse me, could you please help me find this shirt in a medium?" If they bring it to you, respond politely with, "Thank you, I really appreciate your help." Adding friendly expressions such as, "I really appreciate it," or "That's very kind of you," will not only make your English sound more fluent, but also help you connect better with people. Politeness and warmth are powerful tools for improving both communication and relationships in English. Think about being at an airport, perhaps checking in for your flight. You could say, "Good afternoon. I have a reservation under the name Alex Johnson." Then, when the airline staff asks for your passport, you can reply, "Here you go," and follow up with, "Could you please tell me what time boarding begins?" Practicing this type of exchange prepares you for real travel situations, and using polite question forms like, "Could you please tell me," makes you sound professional and well-mannered. These are the types of real-life conversations that, when practiced regularly, can boost your English fluency more effectively than memorizing isolated words. Now imagine yourself meeting a friend in the park after not seeing them for a long time. You might start with, "It's so good to see you again. How have you been?" And when they answer, you can say, "I'm glad to hear that. I've missed our conversations," adding expressions of feeling like, "I'm glad to hear that," or "I've missed," makes your speech warmer and more authentic. This not only improves your vocabulary, but also helps you master the emotional side of English conversations. By practicing these scenarios in paragraph form, you are training your brain to think in connected ideas rather than single words, which is essential for fluency. Let's now explore another set of real-life English conversations that can help you become more fluent and confident when speaking. Imagine you are meeting a friend you haven't seen in a while at a coffee shop. Instead of sticking to short responses, try adding details to keep the conversation flowing. You might say, "It's so good to see you. How have you been? I've been busy with work lately, but I finally managed to take a break today." This approach not only sounds more natural, but also gives your friend more opportunities to respond, helping you practice active listening. Similarly, when your friend tells you about something exciting, you can respond with phrases like, "That sounds amazing. Tell me more about it." Or, "I'd love to hear all the details." Such expressions create a warm and engaging tone while allowing you to learn new vocabulary from the other person's responses. Another useful example can be when you meet someone for the first time at a professional event. Instead of only asking, "What do?" you can make it more engaging by saying, "I'd love to know more about your work. How did you get started in your field?" This type of question opens the door for a longer, more interesting conversation and shows genuine interest. You can practice these sentences in front of a mirror, paying attention to your tone and facial expressions, as this will make your communication skills even stronger. Daily life also brings situations where you need to express opinions politely. For example, if someone asks you for your thoughts on a movie, you could say, "I enjoyed it, especially the way the story was told. What about you?" Or, "It was interesting, but I think the ending could have been stronger." Adding such details helps you practice forming complete, thoughtful sentences, making your English sound more advanced and fluent. You can apply the same approach when talking about books, travel experiences, or even meals you've tried. In everyday conversations, it's also important to know how to gracefully change topics. For instance, if you're talking about work but want to move to a lighter subject, you might say, "Speaking of relaxing, have you watched any good shows lately?" This gentle transition keeps the conversation natural and flowing without sounding abrupt. Practicing these shifts can make your speaking style sound more like that of a native speaker, helping you feel more confident in social situations. Let's now dive into more realistic and practical conversations that you can actually use in your daily life to make your English fluent and natural. Remember, the goal is not just to memorize sentences, but to understand their tone, rhythm, and flow so that you can adapt them to your own speaking style. I'll walk you through some scenarios step by step, showing both what you might hear and what you can say in response. As you read, imagine yourself in these situations and try speaking out loud as if you were part of the conversation. This will help you develop the confidence to use these phrases in real life. Imagine you are at a grocery store and you can't find a product. A very common and natural way to approach a store employee is to say, "Excuse me, could you help me find the bread section?" Notice the politeness. "Excuse me" softens the request, and "could you help me" makes it sound less like a demand and more like a genuine question. If the employee responds with, "Sure, it's right over here," you can follow up by saying, "Thank you so much. I appreciate it." These small interactions might seem simple, but they are powerful in building your confidence in English because you are practicing clarity, politeness, and social interaction in one short exchange. Now, let's consider a different everyday situation. Ordering food at a restaurant. You walk in. The waiter greets you with, "Good evening. How many people? You can reply naturally. Good evening, just two of us, please. When you receive the menu and are ready to order, instead of simply saying, I want the pasta, try making it more polite and conversational by saying, I'll have the pasta. Please, could I also get a glass of water? Notice that I'll have is a softer, more standard way of ordering food. I and English compared to I want. When the waiter brings your food, a friendly, thank you, this looks great, will make you sound warm and approachable. If you need something later during the meal, you can say, excuse me, could I get some extra napkins? Rather than just, more napkins. These little language choices add a natural flow to your conversations. Another very real-life scenario is at the airport. If you are checking in for your flight, the airline staff might say, Good morning, can I have your passport and ticket, please? You can respond, Good morning, here you go, while handing over your documents. If you're unsure about your boarding gate, you can ask, Could you please tell me which gate I should go to? And when you're going through security, you might hear, Please place your bag on the conveyor belt. Instead of just doing it silently, you can acknowledge by saying, Sure, here it is. These small verbal confirmations show politeness and confidence. Shopping conversations are also a fantastic way to practice fluency because they involve asking questions, making requests, and responding politely. Imagine you're in a clothing store and see a shirt you like, but need a different size. You can say, Excuse me, do you have this in a medium? If they say yes and bring it to you, you can respond, Perfect, thank you so much. If they don't, you can politely say, No problem, thanks for checking. Learning to respond politely, even when the answer is not what you wanted, is an important skill for sounding fluent and respectful in English. Let's move to a workplace scenario. Suppose you are in a meeting and someone asks for your opinion on a project. Instead of jumping straight into your point, you can start with a softening phrase like, in my opinion, or I think we could. For example, in my opinion, adding more visuals to the presentation will help our audience understand better. If you disagree with someone's idea, you can use a polite disagreement phrase such as, I see your point, but I think we might need to consider another approach. These kinds of professional expressions are essential for sounding confident, yet respectful, in business conversations. Now imagine you're meeting someone socially for the first time. They might start with, Hi, nice to meet you. You can reply warmly, Nice to meet you too. How's your day going so far? This simple follow-up question keeps the conversation alive and prevents awkward silences. If they tell you something about their day, respond with a related comment or question. For example, if they say, It's been busy, you could say, I know what you mean. What's been keeping you busy? These little conversational turns make you sound genuinely interested, which is a key part of fluency. Another very practical context is making small talk while waiting, maybe in a line, at the bank, or bus stop. If it's hot outside, you could say, It's such a hot day, isn't it? If the person responds, Yes, It really is. You can keep the talk going with, I heard it might rain later, though. Small talk like this is an excellent way to practice casual conversation and build confidence without pressure. Let's also talk about making plans with friends. Suppose your friend says, we should catch up sometime. Instead of saying, okay, make it more specific. That sounds great. Are you free this weekend? If they agree, you can continue with, perfect. How about we meet at that new cafe downtown? These practical exchanges teach you to move a conversation forward and make real decisions using English. Real life also brings moments where you have to apologize. For example, if you're late for a meeting, instead of just saying, sorry I'm late, you can say, I'm really sorry for being late. The traffic was heavier than expected. Thank you for waiting. Adding a reason and showing appreciation makes your apology sound warmer and more complete. Finally, let's not forget conversations about hobbies and interests. These are great for connecting with people. If someone asks, what do you do in your free time? You can say, I enjoy reading, especially mystery novels. How about you? This structure, sharing a detail, and then asking a follow-up, is one of the most effective ways to keep conversations flowing. When you practice all of these conversations regularly, you'll notice your fluency improves, not because you memorized lines, but because you understand the natural patterns of English. Always pay attention to tone. Politeness markers like please and thank you, and follow-up questions that show interest. These are the real secrets to sounding natural and confident in any situation. Now, let's explore more situations where real-life conversations can help you not just understand English, but also respond naturally, without hesitation. Imagine you are traveling to another city and you need to ask for directions at a bus station. You might hear someone say, excuse me, do you know where the ticket counter is? This type of polite question is common and essential. Notice how it starts with excuse me to get the listener's attention, followed by do you know where, which is a polite way of asking for information. If you are answering, you could say, yes, it's just over there near the entrance, or I'm not sure, but I think it's next to the cafe. The key here is to keep your sentences short, clear, and polite, which makes your English sound confident. Another very practical situation is when you are in a restaurant. You might say to a waiter, could I see the menu, please? Or, what do you recommend today? These are real expressions you can use anywhere in the world. If you want to sound even more natural, you can add friendly words like please or thank you so much. For example, could I have the pasta, please? Or thank you. That sounds delicious. By practicing these in your daily life, you will be ready whenever you are in an English-speaking restaurant or cafe. Now, think about situations in the workplace. If you are in an office and need help from a colleague, you might say, could you give me a hand with this report? Or, do you have a moment to review this email? These are polite and professional phrases that make your requests sound respectful. If you are responding to such requests, you could say, "Sure, I'll be right there," or, "Of course, give me 5 minutes." Workplace English often uses polite forms, but still keeps sentences short for efficiency. Another valuable real-life conversation happens when shopping. Imagine you are in a clothing store and you want to try something on. You might say, "Excuse me, where are the fitting rooms?" Or, "Do you have this in a medium size?" If the shop assistant replies, they might say, "The fitting rooms are in the back," or, "Yes, let me check for you." This type of exchange is short, but practicing it will help you in many different countries and situations. We can also practice conversations related to social situations. If you meet someone new at a friend's party, you might say, "Hi, I'm Alex. Nice to meet you." The other person could reply, "Nice to meet you too. How do you know Sarah?" Notice how the conversation continues with a question. To keep the exchange flowing, you can answer with something like, "We work together at the same company," or "We met in college." By asking and answering follow-up questions, you can keep any social conversation alive and friendly. Let's also include travel-related exchanges, as these are very useful for many English learners. At an airport, you might hear, "May I see your passport, please?" Or, "What is the purpose of your visit?" You can respond with, "Here you go," or, "I'm here on vacation," or, "I'm traveling for business." These AOs re-short, clear responses that make you sound confident in formal situations. If you are asking questions, you could say, "Where is the boarding gate for flight 342?" Or, "Is this the line for security?" These phrases are part of real travel English you will hear and use. In daily life, small talk is one of the most important skills for improving fluency. For example, when talking about the weather, you might say, "It's such a beautiful day today." Or, "Looks like it's going to rain." The person you are speaking with might reply, "Yes, it's perfect for a walk." Or, "I know, I forgot my umbrella." These exchanges may seem small, but they help you connect with people and sound more natural in English. Even at home, you can create conversation practice. Imagine, you are living with a roommate. You could say, "Could you pass me the salt while cooking?" Or, "Do you want to watch a movie tonight?" These are natural, everyday phrases that keep communication smooth. When your roommate replies, they might say, "Sure, here you go," or, "Yes, I'd love to." Practicing these in your daily life helps you build automatic responses in English without needing to translate in your head. The most important part of mastering these conversations is repetition. Don't just read or listen to them once. Speak them out loud, copy the tone and rhythm, and imagine yourself in the real situation. When you hear native speakers, notice how they use short, linking sounds, like saying gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. These small details make your English sound fluent. For example, instead of saying, "I am going to the store," you can say, "I'm gonna go to the store." It's still correct in casual conversation, and it's how native speakers talk. If we combine all these situations, asking for directions, ordering food, talking at work, shopping, meeting new people, traveling, making small talk, and chatting at home, we already see meow sai mama meow over a huge range of daily life English. The more you practice them, the faster your brain will recognize patterns and respond without hesitation. You don't have to memorize all 100 conversations at once. Learn a few each day and make sure you practice them in real voice, not just silently, in your head. The goal is to make your English flow like water, smooth, natural, and confident. Now, we have now reached a point in our lesson where you should already be noticing how much easier it feels to understand and use English when you are exposed to real-life examples rather than just memorizing rules. To keep building your fluency, let's continue with more practical, natural-sounding situations that will strengthen your listening, speaking, and comprehension skills. Imagine you are talking about daily plans with a friend. This is one of the most common types of conversations in everyday English, and it's filled with natural expressions you can use right away. You might hear someone say, "I'm planning to grab a coffee after work," or "Let's meet at the park around 5 p.m., or "I have to run some errands before dinner." Each of these sentences teaches you not just new vocabulary, but also the rhythm and flow of natural speech. When you practice them aloud, you start to develop that smooth, automatic way of speaking that native speakers have. You could also practice adding follow-up sentences to make the conversation longer. For example, if your friend says, "I'm planning to grab a coffee after work," you can respond, "That sounds great. Which cafe are you going to?" Or, "Nice. Can I join you?" These small exchanges help you learn how to keep a conversation going naturally. Another realistic conversation you should be comfortable with is talking about transportation or travel plans. This could be something as simple as asking, "How are you getting to the office tomorrow?" Or answering with, "I'm taking the bus because my car is in the shop." Notice how phrases like "taking the bus," "in the shop," and "how are you getting" are everyday English structures you'll hear constantly. You can extend this type of conversation with more detail, such as, "The bus takes about 30 minutes, but it's usually crowded in the mornings." Or, "I might take the train instead if the weather is bad." By practicing these complete thoughts, you're not only learning the words, but you're also training your brain to create longer, more natural responses instead of short, one-word answers. Now let's shift to a situation about food, because this is something almost everyone talks about daily. If someone asks, "What are you having for lunch?" you could answer, "I'm thinking about having a salad," or "I'm craving some pasta today." Words like thinking about and craving make your English sound richer and more expressive. Instead of simply saying, "I want pasta," try saying, "I'm in the mood for pasta," or "I feel like eating pasta." These subtle changes make a big difference in how natural you sound. You can also practice questions such as, "Where do you usually eat lunch?" Or, "Do you want to try the new restaurant down the street?" These are friendly, casual ways to start and maintain conversations about food. Talking about the weather is another key skill because it's one of the easiest and most common ways to connect with people in English-speaking countries. You might say, "It's really sunny today. Looks like it's going to rain later." Or, "It's freezing outside." When responding, you can add short comments to keep the chat going, such as, "I know, perfect day for a walk," or, "Yeah, I hope it clears up before evening." Adding a small personal thought to your weather statements keeps the exchange lively and engaging. If you want to sound even more fluent, try combining weather or comments with other topics like, "It's really sunny today, perfect for having lunch outside," or, "It's raining, so I think I'll stay in and read a book." Now let's imagine a conversation about shopping. This is a topic you'll hear often, whether it's about buying clothes, groceries, or household items. If someone says, "I need to go shopping this weekend," you could reply, "What are you planning to buy?" Or, "Is there a sale going on?" Learning words like sale, discount, bargain, and price helps you sound like a confident shopper. In English, you could say, "I found a great deal on shoes," or, "This store is too expensive, but the quality is amazing." These kinds of phrases are not only useful for real-life situations, but also help you practice combining adjectives with nouns naturally. Next, let's talk about conversations related to hobbies and free time. If someone asks, "What do you do in your free time?" you could respond, "I enjoy reading and going for walks," or, "I like playing the guitar and watching movies." Notice that enjoy and like are followed by an ing verb in these sentences. This is a common grammar structure in English, and using it correctly will make you sound more fluent. You could also ask others, "Do you play any sports?" Or, "Have you read any good books lately?" These are open-ended questions that encourage longer responses, making conversations more engaging. Work and study conversations are also incredibly important. If someone says, "I'm working on a new project," you could reply, "That sounds interesting. What's it about?" Or, "How's it going so far?" These questions show that you're interested in the other person's experience, and they help you keep the conversation flowing. Similarly, in a school context, you might hear, "I have an exam next week," and you could respond, "Good lucks." Heck, what subject is it for? Or, "Have you been studying a lot?" Using encouraging phrases like, "Good luck," or, "That sounds great," makes your English sound friendly and natural. Finally, one of the most essential types of real-life conversations is making plans. If someone says, "Let's meet up this weekend," you could answer, "Sure, what day works for you?" Or, "Sounds good. Where should we meet?" These simple but polite responses show good conversational skills. You can add extra details to make the conversation richer, like, "Let's meet at the cafe near the station. It's quiet and has great coffee." Or, "How about Saturday afternoon? I'm free after 3 p.m. Practicing these phrases repeatedly will help you respond quickly and confidently when someone makes plans with you. This part of our practice is designed to make you comfortable with the exact kinds of English you will use in daily life. The more you expose yourself to these realistic situations and practice them out loud, the faster you'll be able to think and respond in English without hesitation. The key is to not only memorize the phrases, but also understand when and how to use them. Naturally, if you repeat this kind of real-life practice every day, your fluency will grow at a much faster rate than if you only study vocabulary lists or grammar rules in isolation in real life. There are countless small yet meaningful conversations that help you strengthen your English fluency without feeling like you are studying. For example, think about the times you go to a restaurant. This is a golden opportunity to practice polite and natural phrases that English speakers use every day. When you enter a restaurant, instead of just saying hello, you can greet the host with a friendly, "Hi, how's your day going?" This small opener makes you sound approachable and confident. When asking for a table, you could say, "Could we get a table for 2, please?" Or, "We'd like a table near the window, if possible." These phrases show courtesy and specificity, which are key in real-life English. When ordering food, avoid only saying, "I want." It can sound a little blunt. Instead, you can say, "I'll have the grilled chicken, please." Or, "Could I try the pasta with extra vegetables?" These small changes make you sound more fluent and natural, and if you need to clarify something, you could say, "Does this dish come with bread?" Or, "Is it possible to have this without cheese?" These are polite question structures you can reuse in countless daily situations. Another common real-life conversation happens in coffee shops. Imagine you walk in and the barista asks, "What can I get started for you?" Instead of just saying, "1 coffee," you could say, "I'd like a medium latte with oat milk, please." Or, "Can I get a black coffee and a blueberry muffin to go?" The phrase "to go" is very natural in English and means you want your order for takeaway. If you want to be even friendlier, you might add, "It's a beautiful day out, isn't it?" while waiting for your drink. Small talk like this helps you practice English naturally and makes interactions feel warmer. Even when you receive your order, you can practice politeness by saying, "Thanks, I appreciate it," or "Thank you, have a great day." These short expressions make you sound more fluent and well-mannered. Supermarkets also offer endless real-life English practice. At checkout, the cashier might ask, "Did you find everything you were looking for?" Instead of just saying yes, you could say, "Yes, thank you. I was actually looking for almond butter, and I found it in the last aisle." This lets you practice complete sentences and gives you confidence in conversation. If you need help finding something, you can approach a store employee and ask, "Excuse me, could you tell me where the cleaning supplies are?" Or, "Hi, I'm looking for frozen berries. Could you point me in the right direction?" These polite requests not only help you get what you need, but also give you real-world English-speaking opportunities. Another important type of real-life conversation is at the pharmacy. If you are feeling unwell and need medicine, You might say, "Hi, I'm looking for something to help with a sore throat. Do you have any recommendations?" Or, "Could you tell me if this medicine is safe to take with food?" These are practical sentences you can remember and adapt to different situations. And even when you just need something simple like vitamins, you can still practice English by saying, "Hi, could you help me find vitamin C tablets?" The goal is to turn every necessary conversation into a language learning moment. Even taking public transportation gives you chances to use English. If you are at a bus stop and unsure of the schedule, you might ask someone, "Excuse me, does the number 5 bus go to the city center?" Or, "Do you know what time the next train to Boston is?" These short interactions build confidence because they are practical and require quick responses. On the bus, you might ask the driver, "Could you tell me when we get to Main Street?" Or, "Does this bus stop near the shopping mall?" Every time you ask a question like this, you strengthen your speaking and listening skills in a real-life setting. Let's also consider everyday workplace conversations. If you are meeting a colleague in the morning, instead of simply saying hi, you could say, "Good morning, how was your weekend?" Or, "Morning, I hope you didn't get caught in that traffic today." These friendly openers make you sound fluent and approachable. When you need help, you can say, "Could you help me understand this report?" Or, "Would you mind explaining this part to me?" And if someone helps you, instead of only saying thanks, you might say, "Thanks for your help. I really appreciate it." These are the types of workplace English phrases that make you sound natural and professional. One more example is when you meet someone new. Instead of just saying, "Nice to meet you," you could add a follow-up question like, "Nice to meet you. How do you know Sarah?" Or, "Nice to meet you. Are you from around here?" These small follow-up questions keep the conversation flowing and make you sound more confident. In real life, fluency is not only about knowing words, but about using them in a way that keeps people engaged. The more you practice these natural phrases, the faster you'll become fluent. If you think about it, every single day is filled with small interactions: ordering food, asking for directions, shopping, greeting people, making small talk, and asking for help. Each one of these situations can be a mini English lesson if you approach it with curiosity and confidence. Even a 1-minute chat with a cashier or bus driver is a chance to improve. By consistently using real-life English, you train your brain to think in English, which is the fastest route to fluency. When you think about fluency, it's not only about knowing words and phrases, it's also about how you use them in a continuous, natural flow, without stopping to translate in your head. Imagine you are in a train station and you need to buy a ticket. You might walk to the counter and say, "Good afternoon, I'd like a ticket to Boston for this evening, please." The clerk might respond, "Sure, do you prefer a window seat or an aisle seat?" You can then say, "A window seat, please. And could you tell me what time the train departs?" The clerk might reply, "It leaves at 6:45 p.m. from platform 3. You thank them and say, "Perfect, thank you so much. Have a nice day." This flow is not just about vocabulary. It's about building confidence in real exchanges. where you know what to say and how to respond. Now picture yourself walking into a small bakery on a Sunday morning. You're greeted by the smell of fresh bread and pastries. You smile at the cashier and say, "Hi, I'd like 2 croissants and a loaf of sourdough bread, please." The cashier might respond, "Of course. Would you like your croissants warmed up?" You can reply, "Yes, please. That would be lovely." As they prepare your order, you might add, "And could I also have a medium cappuccino to go?" The interaction ends with, "That will be $8.50. Would you like to pay by card or cash?" And you answer, "By card, please. Thank you very much." Practicing this kind of scenario trains your brain to recall phrases instantly. Let's move to a scenario. In an electronics store, you approach an assistant and say, "Excuse me, I'm looking for wireless headphones with noise cancellation. Do you have any recommendations?" The assistant might answer, "Yes, we have several models. Are you looking for something for travel, work, or sports?" You reply, "Mostly for travel. I want something comfortable for long flights." They could respond, "I'd suggest this model. It has a 30-hour battery life and excellent sound quality." You say, "That sounds great. Can I try them before buying?" And they answer, "Of course. Let me get a demo unit for you." This example shows how a short shopping trip can turn into a complete conversation with multiple follow-up questions. Imagine now that you are in a city you've never visited before, and you walk into a small local restaurant for lunch. You greet the server, "Good afternoon. Do you have any vegetarian options on the menu?" They might respond, "Yes, we have a grilled vegetable sandwich, a quinoa salad, and a mushroom risotto." You answer, "Where?" "The mushroom risotto sounds delicious. Could I have that with a side of garlic bread, please?" They might ask, "Would you like something to drink?" And you respond, "Just a glass of sparkling water, please." At the end of the meal, you could say, "That was wonderful. Could I have the check, please?" This scene reinforces how simple restaurant conversations can be turned into confident speaking practice. Another important real-life situation is at a hotel reception. When checking in, you might say, "Good evening. I have a reservation under the name of Alex Parker." The receptionist could reply, "Welcome, Mr. Parker. May I see your ID and credit card, please?" You hand them over and say, "Of course. Could I also request a quiet room away from the elevator?" They may respond, "Certainly. We have a room on the top floor with a garden view. Will that work?" You smile and answer, "That sounds perfect. Thank you." Later, if you need help, you might call reception and say, "Hello, this is room 512. Could I have an extra blanket, please?" These little exchanges help you use polite and natural English in travel situations. Picture yourself going to the bank to open a new account. You start with, "Good morning. I'd like to open a savings account. Could you tell me the requirements?" The banker might respond, "Sure. You'll need proof of identity, proof of address, and a minimum deposit of $100. You say, "I have my passport and utility bill with me. Can we proceed now?" They answer, "Yes, please fill out this form and I'll get started." You reply, "Thank you. How long will the process take?" And they might say, "It should be ready in about 15 minutes. This scenario gives you practice in using formal but clear English in professional settings. Even at a gym, English conversations happen naturally. You might approach a trainer and say, "Hi, I'm new here. Could you recommend a good beginner workout plan?" The trainer could reply, "Of course. Are you looking to focus on strength, cardio, or flexibility?" You answer, "A mix of strength and cardio would be great." They respond, "Perfect. I'll create a plan with 3 gym days and 2 cardio sessions per week." You thank them and say, "That sounds exactly what I need. Thank you for your help." And finally, for this part, let's look at a public transportation scenario. You might ask a stranger, "Excuse me, does this bus go to the Central Market?" They might answer, "Yes, it does. You'll need to get off at the 5th stop." You reply, "Thank you so much. I really appreciate it." If you want to extend the conversation, you might say, "Is it a busy area?" And they could answer, "Yes, especially on weekends, but you'll enjoy it." This teaches you to be confident, not only with the main question, but also with follow-up questions, to keep the conversation flowing. Now, let's move forward with the next set of real-life English conversation practice, keeping the flow smooth and natural, and ensuring every example feels authentic to situations you might face in daily life. Imagine starting your morning on a weekday, when you're rushing for work, but your friend calls you. You answer the phone and say, "Hey, I'm just heading out the door. Can I call you back later?" Your friend might reply, "Sure, I just wanted to check in. Talk to you this evening." This small exchange teaches you how to politely handle a call when you're busy, which is a real part of fluency, knowing how to keep conversations short yet friendly, without sounding rude. Now, think about reaching your office or workplace and meeting a colleague in the hallway. You might say, "Good morning, how's your day starting?" They could respond, "Pretty good, just a bit busy already." These are small, natural interactions that keep your English alive every day. Let's move to another common scenario, visiting a coffee shop before starting work. You walk up to the counter and say, "Hi, can I get a large latte with almond milk, please?" The barista might ask, "Would you like any sugar in that?" You can respond, "No, thanks, just the latte." When the drink is ready, you can say, "Thanks so much. Have a great day." This type of interaction teaches you how to order politely, respond to follow-up questions, and end with a friendly closing remark. Later in the day, maybe you have a meeting scheduled. Before it begins, you might start with, "Hi everyone, thanks for making the time to meet today." If you're leading the discussion, you could say, "Let's start by reviewing the agenda, so we're all on the same page." These workplace phrases help you sound professional and organized. Now, let's picture a lunch break with coworkers. You might start the conversation with, "So, what's everyone having for lunch today?" A colleague could respond, "I'm thinking of getting a sandwich from that new place down the street." You could add, "That sounds good. Maybe I'll join you." Casual workplace conversations like this build rapport and also give you opportunities to practice natural English in relaxed settings. In the afternoon, you might receive an email asking for a quick update. You can reply with something like, "Hi, just a quick update. Everything is on track, and we should finish by tomorrow." Simple, concise, and professional replies are an important part of fluency in written English as well. After work, imagine meeting a friend for dinner. You greet them by saying, "Hey, it's great to see you. How was your day?" They might reply, "It was busy, but I'm glad it's over." At the restaurant, you can practice ordering in a slightly different style. "We'd like to start with the soup of the day, please, and I'll have the grilled chicken salad for my main course." The waiter might ask, "Would you like any dressing on the side?" You can "No, sir." "Yes, please, balsamic vinaigrette." These variations show you how to respond to unexpected questions while ordering. Later, when you're catching up after the meal, you might say, "So, have you got any plans for the weekend?" Your friend could answer, "Yes, I'm going hiking on Saturday. What about you?" You could respond, "I'm thinking of relaxing at home and maybe watching a movie." This is a very natural way to keep conversations going without awkward pauses. Before leaving, you can say, "Thanks for dinner. It was great catching up. Let's do this again soon." This is polite and leaves the interaction on a positive note. At night, maybe you stop at a convenience store to pick up something. You say to the cashier, "Hi, can I get a bottle of water and a pack of gum, please?" The cashier might ask, "Anything else for you?" You reply, "No, that's all. Thank you." When they give you your change, you can say, "Thanks. Have a good night." Again. Small exchanges like this are what make your English flow naturally. In everyday life, even these quick conversations help you practice tone, politeness, and correct word order. One more example for today's section. Imagine you're traveling. At the airport, you might say, "Hi, I'm checking in for my flight to New York." The staff could ask, "Do you have any bags to check?" You can respond, "Yes, just one." Then they might ask, "Would you like a window or aisle seat?" You could reply, "Aisle seat, please." These travel-related phrases are very useful because they are used almost exactly the same way in many English-speaking countries. By practicing conversations like these, you're not just memorizing sentences, you're building confidence to adapt your responses in real situations. The more you immerse yourself in these daily exchanges, the more fluent you'll become without even realizing it. Now, as we come to the final part of our journey through these 100 real-life English conversations, it's important to remember that learning a language is not just about memorizing words or repeating sentences, it's about building a skill that becomes a natural part of your daily life. Every conversation we've explored has been designed to help you handle real situations with confidence. Whether you're at work, meeting friends, traveling, shopping, or just chatting casually, the more you immerse yourself in these kinds of interactions, the more fluent and comfortable you will become. The beauty of these conversations is that they reflect everyday reality. So when you practice them, you are training your mind to respond naturally, just like a native speaker would. Think about how far you've come during this video. You have gone through conversations that cover different tones, emotions, and purposes. Some were polite and formal, others casual and friendly, and some even carried humor or subtle emotions. These are exactly the kinds of variations you need to master. If you want to sound authentic, don't stop here. Go back to each section. Repeat after me. Shadow the sentences. And most importantly, try to adapt them to your own life. If a sentence says, "I'm looking for the nearest bus stop," change it to fit your reality. Maybe you're looking for a restaurant, a pharmacy, or the post office. The point is to make these phrases yours so they come out of your mouth without hesitation when you need them. Now, I also want to remind you that fluency is built through repetition and usage. One-time listening won't make these conversations stick. Listen to them every day, speak them aloud, and even write them down. If that helps you remember, record your own voice, saying these conversations, and compare your pronunciation to mine. You'll notice areas where you can improve. And with practice, those small corrections will make your English sound more natural. If you find a particular conversation challenging, slow it down, break it into parts, and practice until you can say it smoothly. Over time, you will see how your speaking speed, confidence, and clarity improve naturally. Before we wrap up, I want to give you one final piece of advice. Never be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are not failures. They are signs that you are learning. Every single fluent English speaker you know, including native speakers, once made mistakes. The difference is, they kept speaking despite those mistakes. So the next time you hesitate to start a conversation, remember, the only real mistake is staying silent. Take what you've learned today and start using it the very next time you talk to someone. You might be surprised at how much more confident and fluent you sound compared to before. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today and practicing these real-life English conversations. If you enjoyed this lesson and found it useful, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new video. We post fresh English learning content every day to help you improve your speaking, listening, and overall communication skills. Also, give this video a like and share it with friends who are also learning English. It might just help them as much as it helped you. And don't forget to leave a comment below telling me which conversation you found most useful or which real-life situation you'd like me to cover in the next video. This has been Natasha, your English learning partner, and I look forward to seeing you again in our next lesson. Until then, keep practicing, keep speaking, and keep believing in yourself, because every single day you practice, you're one step closer to speaking English with true confidence. See you in the next video.